Welcome to the Business of Apparel podcast. This is the place to learn how to start and scale your own apparel brand and fill it with loyal customers for years to come. I'm your host, Rachel Erickson, owner and CEO of Unmarked Street, and I can't wait to share this episode with you. Welcome back to the Business of Apparel podcast. Today we are talking to Leslie Thornton, who is the owner of Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss. Leslie and I recently met at a women's leadership event, and she and I just automatically connected. I think she and I have a very similar vibe, and I was really pleased to be a guest on her podcast recently, just talking about sizing inclusivity. And I really wanted to have her on to talk to you so that we can also share some of her wisdom and some of her knowledge around body positivity and how that applies really to the fashion industry. So welcome, Leslie. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Thanks for having me, Rachel, and thanks for everything that you do. It's been great having conversations with you over the last month or so, and excited to share my wisdom with your audience.
Yeah. So let's start. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do at your company and your background?
Yes, so CEO and founder of Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss. So we help people stop the mental obsession with food, body, and weight through hypnosis, through emotional mastery, personalized coaching, and neurolinguistic programming. And started because I myself, I'm a registered nurse by trade, and I highly valued health and still do. But my, desiring to be healthy and stay healthy and have a good, healthy body weight and dieting from a young age and exercising. And I was a personal trainer and became a nurse. It became an obsession, and it got to an unhealthy level. And I actually, was forced, which was a blessing in disguise, to actually do the inner work, which I know we have in common, to kind of look at, any of the limiting beliefs or the negative major emotions that were kind of underneath the surface that had me so motivated to, hit all my goals and be a high performer. So I like to help women kind of who know they're at the same place and they feel like, they can't do another diet again. They don't want to, or it's just not working anymore. But yet they still are scared about gaining weight and are trying to find that happy medium and achieve permanent weight loss.
Amazing. I think that is just such beautiful work. And you and I have talked about this a little bit before, but it's not necessarily first about the weight loss itself. It's about loving yourself and loving your body a lot first. That leads to the ability to truly lose the weight. And I think you and I have both discovered that personally in our own different stories. And so, what I want to get into a little bit first is just asking you, in the fashion and apparel industry, I've been talking a lot about size inclusivity and how, having fair sizing or having a wide range of sizes can be really important. And I'd love for you to talk, as you work with clients and they're looking to go work out for maybe the first time in a while, or they're starting on this journey, how important to them is it to have apparel that fits well, feels good, is comfortable, and and makes them feel like they're excited to go do this new activity?
It's so important. It's absolutely so important. I just saw a TikTok recently, and this person's boyfriend bought her like brand new shoes and a brand new, really great workout top and, workout leggings. And he was saying, like, I know this is one of your goals, and I just want you to feel really motivated and excited about getting to the gym. And she's like, oh my God, this is so sweet. She was like, I actually do feel really excited to go right now. So there's so many things that I think it's important about this. But even a client that I have right now, she was traveling and she went and realized that she didn't love the pants she was wearing, so she went to Athleta, which I believe is a company that you had said
Yeah.
is good
Yep.
with sizing. I'm not sure, maybe I'm wrong, but anyway, she went there.
No,
It
you're
was
right.
after you mentioned that, and I was like, oh, I heard good things about it. Okay, great. And she bought a couple new pairs, and she put on a large, and everybody at the store was like, actually, like, I think you would be a medium. And she was like super thrilled about it. But anyway, what she realized when she went to buy this new workout stuff for herself was that she had been, because of feeling insecure about her body and some weight gain that she had been wearing really baggy clothes. And she said, I didn't realize the impact that it was having on my happiness, on my confidence day to day by not wearing clothes that actually fit me. And what I see over and over again especially for women, is that we're so quick to swipe a credit card when we've lost weight and we're buying the size down. But if we've ever gained weight, we completely will not pay any money towards that new wardrobe. And we're like, nope, I refuse to buy that next bigger size up. And so we force ourselves to be in clothes that are a constant distraction to our brain, because every single morning that you put on a pair of pants that are too tight, your brain immediately goes into a negative spiral of like, I feel
Yeah.
uncomfortable, I feel fat, I feel bloated. And then you start to control and say, I'm going to eat nothing today and I'm going to fast until 9 or 11. And all of these different things that just completely distract you from actually being present in your day to day life.
Yeah.
And one of the first things that I have my clients do is go through their clothes and actually get rid of, or at least put into trash bags, and hide it from yourself, any clothes that are not your current size, because it completely impacts the way that you're going to feel day to day. So, absolutely have clothes that fit you and get rid of the rest, because this work is really about mastering being in the present moment, right? It's like
Mm.
true happiness comes from being in the now, not being in the future. The future hasn't happened yet, not being in the past is gone. Your body is what your body is now, and there's no way you're going to lose 10, 20, 30 pounds in the next day or week or whatever. So the phenomenon is, as soon as you actually love yourself right now in the size that you're in, and you give yourself the clothing that actually feels good now, you treat yourself better, you have more positive thoughts throughout your day, and you feel more at peace. So you're not binging late night, you're not. And so the weight loss happens faster, easier, more
Yeah.
eloquently if you're feeling good now.
I love that. And I think, I have a story when I was much younger and I was kind of in that like wedding season of my life, right? Like all of your friends are getting married. I had a good girlfriend who was determined. We were going to this wedding together. She wasn't in the wedding, or neither was I or anything like that, but she was determined to fit into this size 4 dress to go to this wedding. And I remember thinking, like, if you would just buy the 6, like, you would look amazing. But she was so determined
Yes.
to wear the 4. And so she tried really hard to be like losing the weight and crash dieting and like working out constantly to fit into this size 4 garment. And she ended up not looking great in the garment because it was too tight on her at the end of the day. And so I always remember that when I'm thinking about sizing and working kind of with my clients in the apparel industry, that number one, size doesn't necessarily mean anything. A number on a piece of apparel doesn't mean anything because it's different from brand to brand. If you go into Athleta and you can fit into their medium, that's great. You might walk into Fabletics and find that you're actually a small, but then you might go to Target and you're a large. And so at what store are you setting this standard for yourself? Because it really is that varied. And so I really like to tell people, if they're going on this weight loss journey, and I started to do this for myself too, like I would buy what I felt comfortable in and what looked good on me in the mirror. It's like something that I knew I was going to be able to wear all day and not like feel pinching or feel like, oh, I feel so fat in this, whatever it was. And then I would bring it home and cut out the size label because it doesn't mean anything.
Cool.
And
I
so
love
I
that. And the
think,
size, absolutely no one else sees the size except you.
yeah,
It's like, okay, so she's saying I got to get into a size 4 of this dress, and absolutely nobody knows what is in the inside of your tag, but they
no,
will absolutely know if the dress doesn't look nice, if it doesn't look flattering.
yeah,
And I think it's just, and it's so forgivable when, anybody's in that space, because we literally can't see outside of that, and we're not present to that. And even in my mind, like there's been things in the past of being like, well, I don't want to just, only wear things because it's flattering. Like it's not for anybody else's, but for me, yeah, I get that. And I, respect it's not about doing it for anyone. And like you want to be, and the motivation that's causing you to torture yourself to do these crash diets and still feel miserable at the end of the day. It's part of the trap that has you eventually get really burnt out and exhausted, in my experience. And
yeah.
yeah, just prevent you from the deeper transformation or opportunity to heal. Another thing with the size, like I shared this with you on my podcast, but when I traveled all around the world, I, had to go shopping for different things. And the craziness and the just silliness of sizing got so present to my mind because I was like in India putting on a pair of pants and it was like like the size was ridiculous. I don't know what it was. It was like a JJJ, 952. Like that's the crazy, like the silliness of being like, this literally makes no sense. Like we're kind of present to like European sizes, I think, some stores have
Yeah.
it, but this is completely, and it was just like, I have no idea what this means. All I know is that these pants fit me and they feel good. So
Yeah.
therefore I'm buying them. And if we can just get our brains to like let go of size meaning anything or number meaning anything and just fit and comfort and does it look good?
Are you frustrated by feeling like an outsider in your own industry? You're not alone. I spent years feeling the same way. Are you tired of endless research and you can only learn this stuff by getting a job in fashion advice? Me too. That's why I created the Business of Apparel online course. My years of insider knowledge condensed into video tutorials, demos, and downloads. Learn at your own pace, no fluff. Just key topics like building target profiles and mastering financials. This information is genuinely unavailable anywhere else. Grow your brand, become an apparel industry aficionado, and unlock millions in potential revenue. The value? Over $50,000 with millions potential for your brand. Don't miss out. Sign up for the Business of Apparel online course today at thebusinessofapparel.com/course.
That's going to take us a lot farther.
Yeah. I
And there's
actually have
work to do with that mental stuff, because it's like all the limiting beliefs of like, oh, well, if I'm a size 6, that means I'm fat. That means I'm broken. That means I'm a failure. That means, you know, all of this negative. And that's where we want to look at, because once
yeah.
you uncover that stuff, you forgive yourself for any of those negative limiting beliefs or decisions. Freedom is on the other side of that, which means less binge eating that leads to sizes continue to go up and up instead of maintaining or down.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I have a similar story. One time we were traveling for work and we were headed to Vietnam, and all three of us who were traveling, we all lost our luggage. All of our luggage was lost when we got there, and we were going straight to the factory. And so we knew for the next day we weren't going to have clothes. We had, we were going to either be showing up in our travel clothes again, which, after you've traveled for like 14 hours or just you don't want to be wearing them anymore.
Yeah.
And so they took us shopping, and it was kind of the same thing where we were able to recognize the sizes. They were regular alpha sizing at the place they took us, like small through extra large. But they took us to the women's section, and, petite Asian Vietnamese women are very small. And so we were trying on these garments, and we were probably mediums and larges in like American sizing, and we couldn't fit anything. Like it was all,
Mm-hmm.
we were off the charts, above the extra large that the store was offering. And so we ended up having to go next door to a men's shop, and we all just were trying on all of these different men's clothes. And so we all wore men's clothes to the office the next day, because it was just, and I think that was kind of an eye opener for me too, of like, sizing is truly so different depending on like where you are. And to your point, like sometimes it doesn't even mean anything. And I've seen some great brands embracing that. Like I've seen some great brands saying, we're not even going to say size. We're going to call this the unicorn fit, and this one is going to be, the beauty fit. I don't know. Like
Oh,
they're coming up with something completely on their own, because they're trying to emphasize the fact that it's ambiguous and you should just wear what fits you, and you should look at their size chart and just understand that and buy what's right. Um,
oh, it's huge. And I just was going to say on your Vietnam experience of like, and then people from Vietnam may have judgments on your body because you're off the charts for whatever, of being
right.
like, oh, wow, she's so fat. And they say things like that. Like other cultures will just be so blunt, like, oh, you're so
Yes.
fat. Like, what's wrong with you? You have stress, like just like I've had those things be said to me. Right. But then
Yeah.
if you go to a different country, like which I have, Mexico or India, where I was like a medium or a large or whatever in US sizes. And they're saying, what's wrong with you that you're not bigger?
Yeah.
Like this mean like you're too skinny. Let's feed you more. So
Yes.
that also like really blasted my mind of being like, wow, no matter what, someone's going to have a different thought based on what your body should or should not look like and what it means that your body looks like this and that. That's completely different than other
Yeah.
things, which can happen in your own household as well. It did in
Yes.
mine. And, and it's just like, it's all empty and meaningless. There's literally
Mm.
no, and that's where it becomes so important to learn how to block the noise and learn, how to get past those emotional triggers emotionally as they come up, because those can cause us to eat more and have more stress and more weight gain, etc. And
Yeah.
then once that noise is quieted down, which hypnosis supports people with, then we can get present to who you are, what's going to sustain your body right now, honor what journey you're on, right? If you just had
Yeah.
a baby or you died in the past, if you had postpartum depression, if you just had loss in your life, if,
Yeah.
right, like there's could be like you just had a toxic relationship issue. We just had a world pandemic and that brought up a lot of things for people. Like,
Yep.
let's honor where you're at and celebrate whatever we have the opportunity to learn now because of the discomfort that you're experiencing, which I totally acknowledge. I was in so much, turmoil when my weight was going up after being 108 pounds at 5'2" after following a super strict program for 3 years. Like, that was
Wow.
completely unsustainable. And the weight gain was rapid. And I felt like a fish out of water and I was terrified. So I know the journey is very, very hard and scary. It can be. And, reaching out for help and knowing that there's a way out of this, is just, I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for doing that.
I love that. Can you elaborate a little bit more on your process? Like if someone were coming to you as a potential new client and you were just kind of explaining like this is kind of from, I don't know, ABC, this is what we're going to do first and these are kind of the goals that you try to reach with your clients.
Totally. So there's a little bit of variance when it comes to each person. But a major thing is, again, accepting where you're at now to some degree and being with any resistance or upset or emotionality that's around that. Because what brings people to start a diet yet again after doing it so many times, usually in the row in the past or whatever throughout their lives, is emotionality. There is, you get to a level of upset and anger at yourself or self hatred, or, maybe you get really angry at your husband or your kids and it scares you. And then you're eating more and you're like, and then something emotional will drive you to be like, I need to start something brand new with a diet.
Hmm.
So, obviously, with it being hypnosis for permanent weight loss, we need this to be the last thing for
Yeah.
people, right? So it's recognizing that what's really at the source so that you never have to go through this emotional trigger again to start another diet that's crazy again. We need to do things a completely different way. So, first, it's really looking at the emotions that are underneath the surface, the anger, the sadness, the fear, the hurt, like whatever is present, especially after eating or overeating, just like paying attention. I always say to my clients, like, I don't want you to change anything in the beginning about the way you're eating. We just want to observe it, like be like a
Mm.
science experiment of ourselves and just be like, oh, wow, that's interesting. So, for example, I just had a client who over the weekend, she was traveling for work and she put a message saying, like, I'm just hoping this will help other people, but I'm really struggling and I'm just really upset and I feel really defeated. Like, I was feeling really good, just making empowered food choices and not saying that I couldn't eat anything or and choosing things that I thought would make me feel good. She was like, but now I'm just again in this negative space. She was awesome where she came back and also said, I also want to acknowledge that this started when I saw photographs of myself from the conference this past weekend.
Oh, wow.
That
Interesting.
and right, that and she said, my menstrual cycle is also supposed to start, at the end of this week.
Yeah, that's a big
And it's
one.
just like beautiful. This is such a part of emotional mastery. And this is what we do in our work together is we're really kind of when a big emotional thing comes up around food, body, and weight stuff, we want to, again, what we're wanting to do is like, let's cut back on what we're eating. Let's diet right now. Let's fix this. And that's the pattern that doesn't work long term. So we want to stop and slow down and be thankful that we have a new awareness and something we can work on to look at. and then look at, where did this start? Right. So for her, it's like, okay, I looked at the photo. So what thoughts did you think when you saw that photo of yourself? I'm
Yeah.
fat, I'm ugly, I don't deserve to be here, da da da. Right. So the more we actually feel all the way to the bottom of what happened when that trigger came about, the more we can transform it. So transformation happens when we actually sit in the suck. So actually giving yourself permission to actually go there instead of trying to avoid it and get away from it, which food is our way to do that. So, yep, transforming those thoughts and negative beliefs and feelings. Um, and then also gaining that awareness of what else is going on in the situation. So a lot of times it doesn't even have to do with the food at all, right? Her hormones are kicked up. I just saw a post yesterday that was saying, like, I'm 39 years old and I still am yet to, like, be aware of the fact that I think the world is falling apart and nothing in my life is getting any better is 100% correlated to my period coming in 3 days. Like, still have not realized that when it's happening. Like, so it's like, it's just so real. Like, I
Yeah.
experience that every single time too. And it's just like, luckily I have the awareness of being like, okay, my period's coming. Thank God these thoughts are not me.
Right.
Right. But when people aren't present to those things, again, that's what has you latch out, pay more money for the next fad that's going to fail again, because you're making those decisions based on your emotions, which are always changing, not
Yes.
actually from your true self of what you actually want. So if you learn how to master the emotions that are always changing, you can start making better decisions, which helps you stay consistent, helps you stay motivated, because it's coming from your authentic self
Yeah.
rather than a unreal emotion. The emotion's real, but the story you're saying about it is not.
Yeah. I think that's a really important point. As I kind of have started to pay more attention to my own body, I think that's something really important. And I've started talking to just some people in my life who I noticed kind of going through the same patterns and just saying, just for like a few months, just kind of track what's going on with your body, with your own cycle, with your emotions, and like see if there's any correlation. A lot of them have come back to me and said, like, wow, that changed everything. Because just the awareness of it is huge.
Yeah.
Amazing. This is so great. Before we leave, I just want to do a little bit of a shout out to some brands. If you were listening earlier and were interested in hearing some more brands who are doing great with size inclusivity, I've been working with a few and have interviewed a few on this podcast. I want to give a specific shout out to 37 Minutes and Alpine Parrot. So if you are wanting to be outside and you love hiking, these two brands really work hard to do what's right for real bodies out in the world. And so if you're interested in checking that out, go to Alpine Parrot or 37minutes.com. Alpine Fit is doing some amazing, like cool cold weather base layer work. And they have been looking at not just different sizing, but different body types. So not necessarily just small through large, but also what does it mean to be curvy versus being kind of a straight body versus being, and so they're working on different fits based on that as well, which is what I think is kind of the next evolution of sizing and apparel. And then those are some small brands, I know, and I always really encourage people to shop small and buy locally. But if you're also looking for some big brands, Leslie mentioned them. Athleta is a great brand out there who's doing really great with some size inclusivity. And Fabletics has also been doing a really good job offering a very wide range of sizes. So if you're looking for some brands out there, go shopping with them and just buy a size that you feel really comfortable in, and you will feel better. Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Leslie. And go find Leslie online. She is an amazing, amazing person, and hopefully we'll talk again soon. Thank you so much for listening to the Business of Apparel podcast. I would so appreciate hearing your thoughts on the show, and if you know someone who could benefit from it, please share it with them. My biggest desire is to help other apparel professionals understand the nuances of our industry so we can all work toward making better product for a better world. If you would like to connect further, I'd love to invite you to send me a message through my website, thebusinessofapparel.com, where I do weekly trainings through my YouTube video channel, a weekly newsletter, blog articles, and so many more resources to help you start and scale a profitable apparel brand. This podcast is produced by Box 7 Media, who I cannot speak highly enough of. If you're looking to start your own podcast, you can reach out to Jeremy at Box 7 Media on LinkedIn anytime.